Hey guys, what's going on? It's Clever Techie, and in this video we're going to learn about PHP classes and objects. First of all, let's review the syntax of classes and objects real quick. So we define the class using the class keyword followed by the class name, and inside the curly brackets we have properties and methods of the class. So properties is just another word for variables, and that's what we call properties is what we call variables inside the class, and methods is what we call functions inside the class. So you can think of a class as just a collection of properties and methods, and that's all it is. And if we wanted to access our property inside the class, we would use a keyword this followed by the object operator, also known as a dart. I'm just gonna call it a dart from now on, and you do the same thing if you wanted to access the method name as well. Now outside the class we actually instantiate the object using the new keyword followed by our class name, and at this point when we do this, the object of the class has been instantiated, and that means the object is going to inherit or basically obtain all the methods and properties of that class. So we can use the dart operator again, or the object operator, to access all those properties and methods with the object. Okay, so let's move on, and let me define a simple class called game. Class game, curly brackets. Now inside the class I'm gonna define a bunch of properties and just one method. So first of all, every game is gonna have a price, every game is gonna have a name, every game is gonna have a photo or cover picture, and I'm also gonna define a variable named directory or dir, and I'm gonna specify a default value where and this is the directory where all the game pictures are going to be located at. Okay, so at this point we have a valid class. Let's just define another function, or not a function, a method, and this method is going to print game information to the screen. So right now at this point it doesn't really do anything, but let me just show you how to instantiate the object. So if I had a game variable and I said new game, at this point the game variable would become an object of the game class. Game is the object type of game class, and I can start setting some of these properties to the actual game. So I can say something like game object operator name equals Bioshock Infinite, game dart price equals $14.99, game dart photo equals, and this is the JPEG name of the photo, which is inside that games folder. And so here I'm just giving you an example of how you would set these properties outside the class for the actual object. So inside the print function I can now say echo this name, echo this price, and echo this photo. Actually, this directory first and then this photo. Okay, at this point let's see what happens here. If I call that method outside the class, game dart print game, should output some information. Yeah, okay, so it's printing out all that information, but let me just define a constant that I usually define called br, and it's just gonna have a BR HTML tag in it. Now for the constants it's a little different. We don't use the this keyword and a dart object operator. Instead we do this. We do self, and then double colon, and then the constant name. So that's just a different way to access the constants within the class. Okay, so okay, concatenate. Okay, so now you can clearly see how all those properties, values that I've set outside of the class are being printed out within this function that I also called outside the class using our object named game. Okay, so that's how that works. This is classes and objects. Now, if we wanted to, let's see. Well, first of all, let's format this a little bit better. And I've already have this code prepared here, so I'm just gonna paste that. And okay, so what's happening here is I just pretty much use the same thing, but as you can see, if we're going to be accessing property names, if we're going to be using properties inside double quotes, we got to use the curly brackets. So otherwise you have to use concatenation. And here for the image, I'm first accessing the directory, which is the games here, and then I'm following that by the photo, which is Bioshock dash infinite.jpg, and then makes up the directory name, and also follow that by the constant, and at the end I have a $sign and the price of the game, and the div with the ending div tag, and that prints out our first game. So that's a pretty cool way to just access. The reason I wanted to show you this is because I just want you to understand that class works as a template, and outside of the template we have the actual object, which is like the real thing in the real world. So if the game is a template, then Bioshock is the actual game that lives inside the real world that people can actually play, that has a name, price, and photo, and all that good stuff. All right, so if we kept going here and created another game, for example, let's do The Witcher 3. All we're doing is we're just using the same object name, but we're setting different values for our new game now. Let's see. Game photo equals The Witcher 3.jpg is where the image is located, and then use the same method to print out new information, and our new game is being printed out to the screen as well. So all I did here, as you can see, we did have to instantiate the new object. We used the same game object, we just changed the property names to new values, and then we called the print game function to print all that good stuff back to the screen. Now, one last thing that I wanted to show you guys is what's called a setter function. So we can keep going and just create different values for our new games, but we can also shorten this code by setting all these variables basically automatically. So let me show you an example of that. Public function set game, and then the game is gonna take this function set game is gonna take in 3 arguments: name, price, and photo. And I'm gonna set all these properties inside this function by using this and object operator and setting them to the actual values provided. So this way is just going to shorten our code. Watch this. If I now do game and then set game, so use that method, and I set the new game name to Overwatch, price is going to be $44.99, and the image is going to be Overwatch.jpg. So now what it does is calls this method set game, and then it sets all these properties for us, so we don't have to do this outside of the object. So you can see how you can do the setting inside the class itself as well as outside. So it's just like a different way of setting your properties within the class as well as outside the class. And then if we print the game now, it's printing our game, Overwatch, and all of our games are being printed out. So that's it for this video on PHP classes and objects. If you guys found it useful, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Clever Techie out.